What's up, everybody? So I want to share with you a few lessons that I learned from my grandfather. As some of my friends know, that I was adopted by my grandfather around the age of 3. And I want to share some of the life lessons that I learned from him. Now, I'm not going to share everything, but I have just a few that have impacted me still to this day. The first lesson this isn't the first lesson I learned from my grandpa, but one of the first ones that I remember as a kid was, let's say, for example, we'll go shopping somewhere and he'll ask me what I want. And I would hesitate to tell him what I want, or I'd hesitate to go and grab what it is, or it didn't matter what we were doing. So I was very hesitant as a kid. I don't know where I learned that from, what caused me to become that way. But I remember one of the first things he said to me as a kid was, be assertive. He'd always say that to me, be assertive. And when I was a kid, I'm like, what does that mean? But he would always say that word. If I hesitated to do something, be assertive, go and get it. Do you want that? Go and get it. So that was one of the lessons I learned. Another one was, I remember my friends and I were all hanging out at my house. I don't even know how old I was, maybe like 9 or 10 or 11, 12, I don't know. Bunch of friends over, my brothers are over. Everyone's having a good time. And everyone's trying to figure out what we want to do. And for the day, like, what are we going to do? We're going to go skateboard? Are we going to go play video games? What are we going to do? And I remember everyone was sitting there. I don't even know how many there was there, like 5 of us, all standing in one room and trying to figure out what we're going to do. My grandpa pulls me aside, takes me somewhere else, or maybe he takes me in the living room or something, I forget. But we were by ourselves, and he says to me, this isn't word for word, but just my remembrance. He said, you realize you are the leader. He's like, they will follow you. And I'm like, what? And he was trying to explain that to me. He's like, everyone's trying to figure out what to do because they're waiting on you to decide. And I'm like, oh, that was very interesting. And so as a kid, I started to perceive myself more so as a leader. And so that led into when I was in school, or then outside of school, and getting into the world of business and realizing, like, I need to be assertive. I need to go and get what I want. And then there was a point in my life where I got into network marketing. So this affected me as an adult. I remember I was with a bunch of people that I had recruited in this network marketing company. And we were all sitting outside of Starbucks I was trying to explain to them some things on how the business worked or whatever. And you know how pyramids are. Yeah, you recruit and then they'll make money off of you and blah, blah, blah. And everyone's trying to figure out, like, well, what if I want to recruit somebody, but you put them under you, but I want them under me because I knew them first. And everyone's trying to figure out this thing. And I'm watching everyone fight and debate. And I just stood up and I took initiative, and I was like, guys, I tried to show everybody how everyone would benefit. And I took a whiteboard and I started drawing on the whiteboard, and I'm showing them, like, how this business will work, how it could benefit everyone. Because everyone was thinking so much about themselves, like how they could profit rather than how they could help other people. But I remember in that moment, just before I stood up and I got my whiteboard out of my car, I realized, like, wait, people are looking for a leader. This is why people fight. So they're looking for someone to take some leadership role, to have an example, because people want an example in life. So that's another lesson. My grandfather was a very, 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 hola, mamma mia, si, senor, very, very, very hard-working man. He was working all the time. And still to this day, he's in his 70s and he works. He could retire if he wants to. Well, he has retired, but then he decided to go work again. This guy, there'd be times where I'll hang out with him and it's like he has more energy than me. He'll be like, yeah, I just got off of work. It's like he just got done working at night. Maybe he was working at 3 a.m. And then he comes home at some point I come and visit him at 9 a.m. or 10 o'clock. He's still awake, didn't take a nap. He's like, oh yeah, before you got here, I went on a hike. I'm like, dude, you were at work. You went on a hike and it's only like 10 o'clock. I like just got up not too long ago and I feel exhausted. And he has more energy than me. And then he's like, hey, let's go out, let's go eat somewhere. And so let's hop in my car, your car, whatever, and we go drive. So hard work, that's another one. And then I remember when I was really young, probably between the ages of 6 and 9 years old, he put me into Taekwondo. And so I learned how to fight and I learned the art of Taekwondo. And one of the things that it taught me, him putting me in there, it taught me that I might be stronger than someone else, faster. I might be more powerful. I could probably whoop your butt. But it doesn't mean that I have to prove it. You know, so because a lot of people are full of their ego, you know, and especially men in this area, like men try to prove to other men that they are better and stronger and faster. And maybe even when you're in school, you get into a fight or whatever. And when I was a kid, I never told my grandfather this, but I got into 2 fights when I was a kid. And I lost the first one because I was ganged up on by 3 people. And then the second one I won because I was after one guy. I was after one guy because the first time I got into a fight, the other ones defended him and whatever. But I was after him, but I didn't beat him down and tear him apart. I just got him to a place of submission where I was like, look, I'm stronger than you. I'm better than you. I could totally like beat you up right now and your parents would never even know that I did it. I don't know. So, but as a kid, I realized, I'm like, man, like there is no point in that. Cause a lot of people when I was in school, you know, you get into fights, you know, people show up at the bus stop, you want to get into a fight and then you're a grown man. And I've been a security guard and armed security. And I've had people threaten to kill me. And in my head, I'm like, I know I could do whatever I want to this person. I could probably beat this person up. But my ego, that's what my ego wanted. But I recognized it and I was aware of it because this happened multiple times, but I wouldn't allow it to happen because I remember I'm like, there's no point in trying to show somebody that I'm stronger than them or more powerful than them. So that's another lesson that I learned. That's another lesson that I learned from my grandfather. I mean, even though I was put into Taekwondo, it's not necessarily he taught me. My grandfather, I want to know more about him. I want to ask him more questions about his life and his history, because he's a very interesting man, you know. And but I wanted to share these things because I think it's important for people to have fathers in their life and or good examples of men, which there's not a lot of. Now, he wasn't the perfect example, and I recognize that. But I've also had, now, aside from my grandfather now, you know, I moved out around the age of 24 and got an apartment, and I never went back home to live with my grandfather. But I've had other men also that were good examples to me. Men that I've never met in my life, just books. I've read their books or listened to their seminars or sermons. Men that have really impacted my life because I'm the kind of person who needed a good example, multiple examples, because otherwise I'd be a very weak and sensitive individual. And so with having good examples, one thing that benefited me is it helped me to recognize areas that I'm weak in, that I can improve in, which is almost like never ending, you know. But I am completely a different person today than I have been I'm 29 as of the making of this video. I'd say I've totally changed since I was 24. Like when I moved out, there was something about moving out and becoming a man that changed me. But again, like I said, I needed examples and wisdom from other people who knew more than me about life. And I try to get wisdom in so many different areas, not just a single person or a pastor, preacher, or some author or some rich person. I try to get multiple counselors. Like when the scripture of King Solomon, the wisest man that ever lived, he says, to have a multitude of counselors, a multitude of mentors. And I really highly recommend this to people, that if you don't have good examples in your life, like let's say, for example, you're a lazy person. You are somebody who you're struggling in life. Maybe you struggle financially. Maybe you struggle in your relationships, your marriage, and or with kids, or maybe you have anxiety, different things, whatever it is. I'm telling you, there are people who have experienced similar things and they have conquered it and overcome it. And they have lived to be able to tell the story, whether it's in a book or in a video like this. So I highly recommend, if you are struggling in any area of life, get knowledge. That's why I've heard it once said that in the Bible, God says, "My people perish for lack of knowledge." So whatever area of your life that you struggle in is the area of your life where you lack the most knowledge. This is something that I learned from Dr. Miles Monroe, another one of my mentors. He always talked about knowledge, and unfortunately, well, maybe it's not unfortunate, he passed away. I wish he was still alive. But he always talked about getting knowledge, and that people often make the mistake of believing that they got things figured out. If you got a house and you got money and you got a nice looking wife and a nice car and you have children, you probably feel like, oh, I got it figured out, until a crisis happens. And crisis is guaranteed in life. And one thing that helped me through crisis is having multiple counselors. So try not to get too religious on me, because I know some people will be like, all you need is God, all you need is Jesus. Okay, well, King Solomon was influenced by God, and he wrote the book of Proverbs, and he says to get a multitude of counselors. So, and I say that because I have a Christian audience that watches me, and I know some people say, all you need is Jesus. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But Jesus, he even recommends that you get wisdom. He got wisdom at the age of 12. Reread it again. In the book of Luke, in the beginning of Luke, Jesus Christ had to go and get wisdom. The Son of God got wisdom. Isn't that amazing? And I'm not talking about wisdom just from God. I'm talking about he got wisdom from other people. So if Jesus Christ had to go and get wisdom, who do you think you are? All right, God bless. Subscribe to the Creedpodcast. Subscribe to this channel. Do all the YouTube stuff. Like and comment. If you disagree, comment. If you agree, comment. If you like, hit the like. If you dislike, hit the dislike. Share it with your friends. I'm willing to challenge anybody on their beliefs, and I'd love for you to challenge me on mine. I believe in constant growth. So hit me up anytime. Watch the next video.